If your lover wants to isolate you from the rest of the world, then that love is not meant for you.
Intuition is very neutral. Any strong emotion will interfere with intuition.
If you start sorting out your emotions and feelings in your current life, you're not only helping yourself in the now moment, you're curing yourself in multiple lives that you're going to have beyond this one identity.
I just know things about my patient before I open the door and go into the room or before I look at the chart. How am I doing this? And I'm accurate. Color is more than just color. When we close our eyes, the eyeball is still seeing. We're actually seeing our aura. The back of our eyelids is kind of like a movie screen, kind of like a computer screen.
It's very, very important to look at people beyond the labels that we assign to them.
Be very, very careful what you are thinking and what you are visualizing, because
This is the part 2 of my conversation with Tina Zion, where we explored further layers of medical intuition. I sincerely hope that you've seen part 1 of this episode because it will definitely help you understand this episode much better. Tina is a brilliant person and teacher, and I have learned a lot from her through the course of these episodes, and I'm so sure you will too. Thank you so much for doing this again with me, Tina. Our first chat was so informative and had so much knowledge coming through. I can't wait to see what comes through in this session.
this has been a pleasure for me. This is like a happiness for me to be here with you.
When we speak about medical intuition, um, the one word that I need to get clarity on from Hugh is illness. Medical intuition wouldn't exist if illness didn't exist. So, what, according to Hugh, is illness in either a physical form or a mental form or anything else?
Hmm. Illness to me, I keep finding over and over again, is truly a signal that we are to learn something in the next step. That, what we call illness comes up, that and stimulates our choice. Either we remain in that level of awareness and illness, or we do what we need to do or can do to advance that level of awareness. I think everything is about the advancement of learning. And I don't even know of a better word except awareness, to heighten our ability to see that we are literally, each human, only a tiny, tiny speck in the whole body of the universe. And every struggle that we have, I think, is always an opportunity. A struggle of illness, a struggle of negative repeating patterns, a struggle of any way in family or friends. It is, oh, what am I to learn from this right now? What am I to learn? Not how am I going to keep suffering, but what am I to learn about myself from this?
Right. And from whatever you've said, how my mind computes illness now, it's a trigger or an excuse to evolve. So I have an illness, even on a physical level, on a level of spirit, or on an emotional level. It's for me to cross that hurdle to do something, even by paying off your karmic debts through that illness. So I look at
Yes.
this, and this is exactly what I'm getting from Hugh in real time.
That's beautiful. It's the way I perceive it too.
In our previous session, you spoke about some past life energy or trauma that manifests as illnesses in our present life.
Mm.
Now, that brings me to a question that when I know that my current emotions are causing an illness, I know how to cure it or heal it. What do I do to cure a trauma or an residue of energy that I'm carrying from my past life? How do I cure that in my current situation?
First of all, I would tell you and the listeners that um, to ask for the healing or to direct the healing to the exact cause of your current illness. And so that will send the healing to the absolute first cause, which many times is maybe in our childhood, but also it can be in 10 past lives ago. Healing to me really is a release of burden and a positive change in any way. And we send that to the exact moment in the past life. We don't even need to know the horrible thing that might have happened in the past life. We just need to direct it to the cause of the current struggle.
You know, what is a great takeaway for our audience and listeners now by talking about past lives and carrying your energy that manifests as illnesses in your current life is that if you start sorting out your emotions and feelings in your current life, you're not only helping yourself in the now moment, you're helping yourself, you're curing yourself in multiple lives that you're going to have beyond this one identity. And
Oh,
that
yeah.
that's why it is so important to know about healing yourself and how you can heal yourself today, so that 25 million years down the line, when I incarnate again, I won't be carrying any residues then. So I'm helping myself, that version of me today.
Exactly, exactly. And because what they were showing me when you were saying these words is that when we alter something positively or negatively, but we're speaking of healing, when we alter ourselves or help someone else alter a past moment, a past life, moment causing the problem, we are energy. We are probably more 70% soul energy and maybe only 30% a physical body. So that soul energy they keep showing me has this ripple effect. So when we alter the past life moment, they show me this rippling that goes out in all directions. So it comes forward to our current time and even into our future time. The intuitive, if you allow yourself, it sees these you can't even describe with words the beautiful images and sensations that will come to you.
I know that there's a lot of people who speak about the power of visualization to heal themselves. And now, this is me asking you for a tip. If you have to give our viewers and audience a tip on actually harnessing that power of visualization to heal themselves, what would you tell them?
I would say be very, very careful what you are thinking and what you are visualizing, because when we visualize, we are creating a very specific energy signal. And so it's very, very powerful. It's very, very real. And this example is coming to my mind. If someone has problems with their left knee, if there's struggles there and pain and things like this, you picture, in fact, I know someone who's doing this now with their knee. You picture the knee, inside the knee too, not just the skin, but inside the knee. You picture it in beautiful working order. You picture it, but then you imagine feeling it. And what we're really doing is we are sending the signal of health into that knee. Now, sometimes we still need surgery and things like this, but the condition will not be as bad. because this is real. We are sending our body a different message when we visualize. And visualization is we're creating a certain vibration. So be careful what we visualize. It must be very clear and precise of what you want.
And to visualize, you don't need to actually know the muscle buildup and the scientific buildup of your body. You just can visualize
Oh.
anything.
Visualizes the whole body doing wonderfully well. I'm getting up there in age, and yet I work 40, 50, 60 hours a week. But I visualize, you know, health and vitality and to keep me going. So right now it's working.
And looking at you, it's clearly working.
Ah, oh, bless your heart. Thank
How
you.
the work you do, it's clearly working.
Oh, thank you very much.
Sometime back in our previous session, you mentioned pink light that was coming through the heart center. Colors are also associated with emotions, associated with healing. I'd like you to tell our audience a little more about that.
Color is more than just color because people speak of, oh, I can see someone's aura. This is something that people talk about a lot when they're becoming more intuitive. And what they don't realize is the aura is our soul. It's because our soul is so large, it can't stay down underneath the skin. So we're actually seeing the person's soul energy, and it will be showing up in colors. And the colors are very fleeting because, oh, let's say we have a negative thought and that will shoot through our aura. Let's say we have a positive thought, and in the pink heart example, we're having a very loving, a very powerful, loving thought and sensation, and see that becomes information. Every single color that we are aware of as humans is an energy signal. It has information like pink. Pink is the information and the feeling of love.
Right.
And it follows the chakras, actually. It follows the primary energy centers too.
Right.
So it's information. I would ask listeners to realize that when we close our eyes, the eyeball is still seeing. So I would ask your listeners to close their eyes right now, if they would do this for a moment, and just think that, oh, my eyeballs are still seeing. So they can look into the back of their eyelids because their eyes are closed. And just notice, because what you'll start to perceive, the color flashes and things, we're actually seeing our aura is what we're perceiving in the back of our eyelids. Is kind of like a movie screen, kind of like a computer screen, that we are looking into the back of our eyelids and we are seeing. In fact, you mentioned blue. Blue tends to be the vibration of communicating with God.
And for the first time today, when I shut my eyes, I saw flashes of green. I've never seen green before, and I saw flashes of green when I shut my eyes.
Oh my goodness. Green is the vibration of healing.
Okay.
Green is always that renewal, regeneration, healing. That's what green is about. The information of green is healing.
Now, since we are talking about visualizing and healing ourselves, it's very difficult to remain objective when you're looking into either your own body or looking into someone's body whose energy field who's really close to you, like a family member or somebody that you love, because all of your hopes and fears play out in real time when you do that. How do you keep an objective distance from your own hopes and fears when you're either looking into your own body or looking into the body of somebody you truly love and are connected to?
Well, I will share with you that actually any strong emotion will interfere with intuition. So the strong emotion of hate, well, all you will feel is hate and not any information of the other person. If you feel love and fear for the person that you love, then that emotion gets in the way because intuition is very neutral. It's neutral because it's simply clear information. And so emotion will always get in the way. And sometimes some of my students will say, I cannot be a medical intuitive. I have been trying to work with my family, with my aunt, my children, my own husband, my wife, and I'm not getting anything. And I'll say, that is the hardest place to start. Do not start where you with anyone that you are deeply emotional about because with emotion you cannot find this neutral information. It's just very, very, very hard to do that. So I would ask people to start with, the neighbor, start with a coworker or someone. Start with, to practice with someone that you are more neutral about.
I'd like to share this experience, which is deeply personal to me with the audience, and it has to do with you. And I've never spoken about this. A year and a half back, my mother was diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer, and I had initially panicked, and I'd reached out to you, and you, with her permission, had looked into her body, and then we did a session, a consult. And I remember you told me that I'm getting the information that you're not supposed to heal her. You said you are supposed to look into your mother's body and heal her. I remember it was a profound experience when I did that session with you, because I looked in, and I don't know, I say I looked. And when I say I looked, it's not like I saw, but it's a knowing that you're seeing something. It's a knowing that this is what is happening. And I remember traveling all the way down into her stomach, and seeing some dark masses there. And I remember visuals so accurately. And it was beautiful because some things had come up, which was she had held them as really like closely guarded secrets. And it had come up in the healing session. And you had told me that I need to speak to her about it and she needs to let it go. And I had spoken to my mother. And I'd like to share with the audience that we had gotten her PET scan done after these healing sessions, after about 3-4 months of doing these healing sessions. And the doctors actually looked at her after her PET scan and they said, "So, how long have you been doing chemotherapy?" And my mother said, "I've not done a single session of chemotherapy," because she was really against it. And they said, "But the cancer in your body," and I want to tell the audience, I'm using the word not her cancer, the cancer in her body, and because I'm using the power of words, had receded by more than 50%, and they had actually declared her out of the red zone, and it had really helped her. And I remember that powerful experience. And it's very, very important to look at people uh, beyond the labels that we assign to them. It's very difficult, but I don't say it out of any bookish knowledge or something that I've read. I have practiced it in real time. And that's why I feel it's very important to strip the label off and look at people as human beings, as individual sparks of light.
Well, and what you're beautifully describing is is I would say it in my words that you reached that level of being neutral. So you got the emotion out, you got the label of, oh, my mother out, and you went in as a neutral, powerful healer. I especially want to say that I teach people the steps, but I do not do it for them. And so I simply shared the steps with you, and you did this for her and with her, is how I would say it.
Right. And I also remember you saying to me when I was doing that session, it's very important for people to know, is that I went in with no expectations. There was no expectation that I am going in to heal her or this will be the outcome of the healing. So it's very important to even keep the expectation aside. We went inside for her highest good. And that's very important that the minute you have an expectation, you again draw a boundary. There is no boundary, there's no limit, whatever is the highest good. And I remember that very, very strongly, very vividly, because you had said go in with no expectations, only for her highest good, whatever that may be. And it scares the living daylights out of you when you think about, oh, what if her highest good is something that I may not want, but it's very, it bears a lot of fruits, I would say.
Well, and we get out of the way of what direction our person is supposed to go. We become neutral, a neutral like vessel for the healing energy. And I must say, since you brought up expectations, that is one of I call it like five different blocks that get in the way of intuition. And expectation is one of them. And I don't think we've even talked about this before. But you see, if we expect something to happen, then we are getting in our own way, but we're also getting in the way of what is supposed to happen, what is meant to happen in their life plan. And so expectations, one of the blocks that when people are learning to be more intuitive and medical intuition, they must rid themselves, just like you did in that moment, no expectations.
Whenever you make a diagnosis, Tina, do you tell people that take the diagnosis at your own risk or take the diagnosis depending on your own beliefs and also go and get this checked medically through conventional medicine? Do you tell them things like this? Is this important to know?
Yes. First of all, I will say that I beg people in my classes to never give a medical diagnosis unless you have like a doctor's license, unless you have a license that gives you permission to diagnose. But what we intuitives can do is we can describe exactly what we're perceiving and where is the location of what we are picking up, what we're perceiving. And my answer to the next part is, to me, doing this level of healing and the medical profession needs to work together, not bang into each other. So my hope is to always work together. So sometimes I will ask people and send them to the hospital from my session because things are so bad, something must be done right now. So I don't see it as, oh, you must only do medical intuition or, oh, you must only do medicine, traditional medicine. I say, no, allow it to come together and work together.
And I'm smiling because I remember an analogy that somebody once told me, and I don't know how it connects, but if your lover wants to isolate you from the rest of the world, then that love is not meant for you because you have to work in conjunction with the rest of the world and your lover for your love to grow and expand. And now, while I'm saying this, I know why the analogy comes through because you're not looking to isolate people. You're working in conjunction with what else is available to people at the very moment. And that's why you're not working on blind faith and belief. You're working together with what's available to us in real time.
Yes. And again, you say it so beautifully.
Thank you. It's very kind of you to say it, but thank you. Since we've been speaking about medical intuition and how you scan people and heal them, many people would say that you're actually playing God by healing people. What do you have to say about that?
That's a very, very thoughtful question. And I've actually heard people wondering about this too. But here's what I keep receiving is that we are meant to advance in our awareness. We are meant to advance as a spiritual being. And so the part of that is for us to struggle, but then to heal. And some of us are to help people do this, other people are to help some other way. But to me, it's just being like, well, I know, just a kind of a little spark of God, just doing God's work for each other. So to me, it's part of the advancement because what I am aware of now about the universe and the cosmos, whatever we call it, I did not know 20 years ago, And so I feel like it's helped my advancement too. And when we do work with someone, if they don't physically heal, if they're not meant to physically heal, if their karma or whatever is supposed to give them this experience, that will stay the same. But mostly, we are meant to be there for each other and help each other. This is what I think the whole world is based on.
It's amazing to have somebody who was a nurse. That means that you've studied science so deeply, speak about energy so uh, passionately.
Oh, well, that reminds me. I could tell your listeners that the people, many people who are coming to my courses are medical doctors, nurses, other kind of physiotherapists, massage people, all kinds of people doing this level of work. But the medical people are coming to my courses. And the doctors will come up and they'll tell me that they are a doctor. At the break time, they'll come up and they'll say they are a doctor and do not tell anyone. I said, well, I would not tell anyone. But then by the end of the course, they tell everyone that they are a doctor. But even the nurses, doctors, other medical people, they say, "Why? I just know things about my patient before I open the door and go into the room or before I look at the chart. How am I doing this? And I'm accurate." So they come to my course because they already realize they are medically picking up intuitive information. So I think this is beautiful that more and more doctors and nurses are coming to my course. Nurses of all specialties and doctors of all specialties, surgeons, uh, all kinds of specialists.
Do you think at some point in time, uh, the conventional medical science will start working in conjunction and collaboration with medical intuitives? Do you think that will happen?
It's already happening because if they're and there's not many of them coming to my courses, but they're coming, see? So that's the beginning. These people are the ones who are opening the door and they're actually starting to share their intuitive information and their abilities to other doctors. They tell me this. And the nurses share it with other nurses. And a dear friend of mine is a physician and she is in what they're calling integrative medicine. She's in a department for integrative medicine, and that's really the doctor's word for holistic. So, see, already there are departments in hospitals that are the holistic doctors. And, and I'm here in the middle of the US and very conservative, but yet, even with this conservative thinking, they have integrative departments of doctors and nurses. And that really means holistic to in the medical world.
Do you feel that by treating somebody or healing somebody who's going through any sort of illness or a terminal illness, um, you are interfering with their karma or what they are supposed to go through or learn through that illness?
No, I've never thought that I was interfering. And I never received that information that it was an interference. What I receive is that the ill person found me and I found the ill person. So there's a level of that it was meant to be, that it was meant to be, that the medical intuitives that I teach all over the world, that those medical intuitives are teaching the client, really the sick person, how powerful they can be. So I've never received any information about interference of karma. If anything, this was the healing moment of karma.
Oh, right. Makes sense. So meeting you is actually a part of the whole pattern that they are meant to go through.
Yes, that's what I keep hearing and receiving. Yeah.
Right. Is medical intuition only limited to human beings? Or can we also extend it to animals and plant life?
People in my courses, some people will come up to me during a break or the lunchtime, and it's like they are confessing, and they will say to me, "I must tell you that I have no plan to work with people. I am full to work with animals. And is that okay?" I said, "Yes, this is okay." It's the same steps. It's almost exactly the same to work with animals. And so, even on my website, I have people's who I send clients to who want readings and healings. And one of them is an animal communicator and healer. So I even have someone on my website to refer people and refer animals to. Yeah. And they're so relieved and they're so happy about this.
In fact, we did an episode on animal communication on our podcast. And I'd like to share with you that I have learned animal communication and now I do communicate with animals. And that's a completely fascinating and different world altogether. How I interpret it as we are there are three stages. There is a creator stage, there's an experiencer stage, and there's an observer stage. They have the ability to so effortlessly go from the state of the experiencer to the state of the observer so effortlessly and gracefully, and we don't have that. Human beings don't have that yet. As a parting question, I want to ask you, and I think this is going to be the most important question for our listeners and our viewers. If you have to give them three tips on what they can do on a daily basis to sharpen their intuition so that they can use it to heal themselves or um, improve their life experiences or whatever, what are the three tips that you would give our audience?
The first one would be to begin to observe or at least notice when a word or a thought comes into your mind out of nowhere, or even a name of a person comes into your mind, that instant pop. People from all over the world tell me that is the most important thing I've ever told anybody, and I hear this a lot, which is why I share it now, is that makes all the difference in the world. And then realize though the next split second after the pop is our thinking mind trying to figure it out. Because many people are very analytic. They are analyze, and they say, "I can't do this because I analyzed everything." I said, "No, no, that tells me that that is the words are a very strong pathway for you. So just now notice the instant word that comes in. Notice the instant thought or the instant name. Now, many times when you have not thought of a deceased person for maybe months, and then suddenly that name of that person and maybe the picture of the person in your mind's eye, that they are there to visit you. This is how powerful it is. And that your first thought, like if you have if you have a decision to make, should I do this? Should I do that? Here's my tip number two: sit for a moment and send all of your energy towards one decision and see the feeling of that and notice, and then release that and think about the other decision, the other choice, and sit there with that, and you will feel a difference. So that would be my second tip. First notice the plop of information or pictures or names. Then the second tip is if you need a decision, you sit with one decision, send all of your energy, and get the feel of that coming back to you, and you will know which decision feels the most right, the most real to you. So that would be the second thing that I would suggest. The other thing is people mostly think they're failing because they thought, and this goes back to expectation, they thought, well, if I'm intuitive, it will look or be like this. And what that means is they missed how it's really coming to them. So if the listener here, if you have a thought, oh, if I'm intuitive, it's got to be like this. Like many people think they should have their eyes open for everything. I have my eyes closed for almost all intuitive, information when working with a client. And so be aware of what you expect, what you think it's supposed to be like. It usually is not. So that would be my third tip is notice how it really comes to you, not how you think it should be. I hope that I hope that helps everyone.
Yeah, that's really powerful, and I'd like to add to that because I'm going through that in real time. Also, uh, allow that way of receiving to transform into something else. So just because you've been receiving a certain way doesn't mean you'll keep receiving that way all your life. Maybe the signs will change. Maybe you will receive it in another way. So allow to let go and move on and allow it to transform into something else.
Another way that I would put that is when one door closes, all that means is a bigger door has opened.
Right. Yes. This was your message to me when we were not recording, and thank you for reiterating it. But yes, and it's so easy to hear, but it's so difficult, and that's why when it is difficult, you know that that is where your learning and your path of evolution lies because it's difficult. So I
Yes, that's the signal that this is important and to learn.
right. Thank you so much, Tina. Thank you yet again for another lovely, lovely session. It's an understatement to even say that I've learned so much from you, but I know that this podcast is going to change so many people's lives because they're going to start just viewing themselves and their lives differently. And that's the intention behind doing all of this. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us.
Well, and bless your heart for doing the work that you're doing. Bless your heart for that.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I've so enjoyed every moment.
Same here. Same here. I can't even tell you. I really hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Soul Safar with Bhaav, because now healing has a face.